we saw a movie that's out in theaters right now called Arrival. We're not going to be talking about the movie. It really has nothing to do with board games, except in a very tangential way.
Yes.
And we won't.
Technically, we're gonna flash sub spoiler.
Very light.
We're not
spoiler.
going full in spoiler.
No.
It's like just the surface. Like I don't think it should.
We're not going to discuss the plot at all. But if you've seen the trailer, you'll be okay.
I will say this: Jonathan is a very very high standard for what a spoiler is. So if he says it, I think that's pretty.
So
good.
Unless you're like me and you like to go in a movie totally blind, you're going to be safe for this discussion. But basically, this movie's about aliens that come to Earth, and humans are kind of trying to communicate with them. How do they just learn their language and so forth? And there's an interesting thing that you caught on in the movie that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, in the movie, we're obviously from the view of the American point of view, but apparently there's ships all over the world. Mm-hmm. And it comes up that the Chinese were trying to teach and learn the language with the aliens through Mahjong, a game in which they brought up that's a bad idea because in a game there's always a winner and there's always a loser.
Mm-hmm. And so by its nature, you're informing them of your culture through the logic of competition and opposition and et cetera. So and I guess so the question you want to talk about is,
and then which later we talked about because I was like, how strong does that idea hold? Because I've heard a lot of things, and I agree with a lot of them. The idea of using games, video, board, whatever, as learning tools in schools and stuff. Mm-hmm. And does the competitive nature actually hurt the game, so to speak?
Yeah, no, it is. It's something I had never really considered, and it's slightly different in the movie because it's like their basis of our entire culture.
Right. And I will say this, we are going to focus right now on competitive games. Technically, yes, there's things like Minecraft and, I'm sure we can think of some of the completely cooperative board games.
Even Pandemic,
but I want to really focus on because in the end, there are a lot more competitive games than there are of the cooperative variety.
The first thing that I think of is, well, maybe it is a bad thing, but maybe it's not a inaccurate thing because our culture is very steeped in competition and opposition. So it's almost like that. Is there a danger of the coddling, the thing that baby boomers are always worried about? Like everybody's a winner, everybody's special.
Gets a trophy.
Yeah, maybe there is somewhat of an advantage to introducing these concepts to people in an educational way. But depending on the subject matter, like maybe not always.
Right. And that's definitely an interesting topic. And I think the other thing I think one of the big differences looking at these two situations is, because I was thinking about it just a little bit afterwards when I was going to bed, was the idea that in that situation, in Arrival, the idea is these are two groups. They technically know nothing about each other as far as we know.
Right.
With that saying, the idea of adding competition is much more important. But in a classroom setting, where I think this is where we're really thinking about comparing it, you're not in that kind of situation. Player A and player B know quite a bit about each other. Mm-hmm. They already can communicate. And not only that, let's say it wasn't a classroom setting. You can see, let's say player A1 has been winning a couple times. You can match him with a new player who has a better skill, like just how skill-based matchmaking in a video game or something. Mm-hmm. Or you can help them learn how to be a better winner, which we all know that can be something everyone can improve on. Or on the case of the loser side, to teach them how to accept losing and how to react to it. Because that's actually where people can really strongly be like, okay, I lost, but instead of just being like, this game sucks, you could be more along the lines of, all right, I lost doing this. But if I follow a strategy, like if we do Ticket to Ride, maybe if I tried to go more for the longer roads instead of just finishing my ticket, maybe that'll give me an advantage or something, like to learn to adapt to their situation, which may be very helpful considering how life tends to throw many curveballs at you.
It's definitely, it's really dependent then on what you're trying to teach. Because, if you're teaching about like you said, winning and losing. Obviously, you need winning and losing. But even if it's something like teaching more about like logic, math problems, spatial awareness, or even something even much simpler than that for younger kids, like shapes, colors, that sort of thing, pattern recognition. Then yeah, it's all maybe maybe that level of success could be measured by something different. I do think that there is room for, and in general, and this is like a whole game design issue of how to tackle this, of games that I don't know if there is even a possible concept of a game that isn't cooperative or competitive, that's more like a learning tool where there's not necessarily a winner or a loser, and everyone doesn't win or lose. It would have to be something much more abstract and less like a game of winning, and more like we're just solving a puzzle or putting things together in a way. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
and
that makes sense.
I do think we also have to turn back around. In the end, we are a competitive culture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can. In the end, we like winning. We like losing. We don't like losing. We try to push. And in an educational system, if we provide an area to give incentives to winning, or like even giving kids the idea, because I don't think right now we don't have that incentive in schools as much. The idea to maybe grind a little bit more, to learn a little bit more, like, oh, if I do a bit more vocabulary, I'll go farther somehow. Like, instead of just the simple numbers, grades, and stuff. Like, I definitely think board games and video games bring it in there, but definitely after seeing that one line, I'm sure it wasn't meant to be a big deal for the movie, but
right.
It definitely made me think.
But it does have a lot of implications, like for, in terms thinking about language and learning in a lot of ways. And I guess Minecraft, actually, what you said before, is a pretty good example of the kind of thing I was talking about. Like, there's no winners or losers in Minecraft.
Unless there's a griefer.
Right. But, it's just about creativity, and it's still a game, but it's more open-ended.
Right. So there's a lot of different possibilities to hit it. And of course, there's a lot of minds that we may not see until like something like this. So, but it's still, I think, something really cool. We'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this. Do you think the idea, like the competitiveness in a game, could be beneficial or could hurt? And when or when not is it helpful for teaching? Yeah,
it's interesting. That's just a small nugget of thought that we found to chew on from the movie Arrival. If you want to go see it, it's pretty interesting. But
and in case you're curious, we both liked Arrival quite a bit.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, so that was a fun little chat. Go teach someone something with board games. It's even interesting to think about in terms of like if we ever discovered or when people were meeting each other for the first time in the world, had they taught each other, had they played games with each other as just even less than a learning tool, just a meeting of two cultures.
Yes, the game we played was called I Put Spear in You and Take Your Stuff.
yeah, it was a real good game. Christopher Columbus won every round in our country.